Thank you for attending. My name's Dan Peterson. I retired as the Public Works Director for Yuba County about a year ago, and the county has asked me to help out pursuing funding in order to get some projects built. And this particular project is the Linda Elementary Safe Routes to School project, and we are going after construction funding for this project. Kylie, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, I'm Kylie. I'm an engineering analyst with Yuba County Department of Public Works, supporting the public engagement section of this project.
So I've got a list of different things that we normally go through when we have these types of discussions. Real briefly, I'd like to go through the project development process. We have, when I say we, Yuba County, has a long list of projects that we would love to build. And we always enjoy getting public input on those projects and hearing what residents think are the priority projects. Unfortunately, we do not get to build the projects that we feel are the highest priority or that the residents necessarily feel are the highest priority. We get to build the projects that we can get funding to build them. And that is the situation we're in with this project. Funding is typically accomplished in one of three ways. The two primary ones are either development fees for new subdivisions. Developers cough up money and we use those funds to build roads, storm drains, drainage systems, etc. The other main type of funding is grant funding. The primary way we get projects built in existing communities, East Linda, West Linda, Olivehurst, Arboga, is through grant funding because there simply is not enough money anywhere else to cover the cost of the project. And the cost of projects just go up. We were talking about it, the cost to construct a complete streets project, curb, gutter, sidewalks, storm drain, bicycle lanes, has almost doubled in the last 5 years. So right now we're looking at close to $12 million per centerline mile to do a complete streets project, to put in, once again, curb, gutter, sidewalk, bicycle lanes, and a storm drain system. That's a huge amount of money. On this project, we've been trying to get the roads around Linda Elementary rebuilt for almost, actually over a decade. The bicycle master plan update in 2012 identified Dunning Avenue and Linda Avenue as projects that the residents would like to get built, but we haven't been able to get funding. In 2022, I applied for a grant to redo a number of streets in the community of Linda, which included Linda Avenue and then a number of residential streets immediately south of Northfield Road. We just missed getting that project funded. In 2023, I requested design funds for Dunning Avenue and Linda Avenue, and we received those funds. So the project is now funded to get the design done, which is nice because we can have a shovel-ready project and roll right into construction. This year, under the Safe Routes to School program, we're going to apply for funds to actually construct the project. It's a little unusual because our design isn't done yet, and I'm going after construction funds. But the Safe Routes to School program is biannual, so you only get to apply for funds every 2 years. And I would rather take the shot now, and then if we miss, we'll take it again in 2026. But our feeling, when I say our, the Board of Supervisors, the County Administrative Officer, the Head of Public Works, we have all been in agreement that we're going to be very aggressive pursuing funds to do these large infrastructure projects. We don't know how much longer these funds are going to be available, so we're going to go after them when they are available, and they're available right now. The status of the project is currently just starting the design. We have a good cost estimate. We had a relatively established quantity takeoff and unit pricing. So we're ready to roll into legitimately a request for construction funds. The way that it works is that we won't even hear if we get construction funding until probably October, November of this year. Then the CTC, the California Transportation Commission, has to vote to allocate those funds to the projects. Then we have to enter into a formal contract between Yuba County and the CTC. So by the time we get all of that done, and then we actually see a executed contract with the CTC, it'll be spring of 2025, which is fine because it normally takes about a year to a year and a half to get the project designed. We won't be rolling into construction until late 2026 or early 2027, and then typically a project of this size would take 12 months to build. I always throw it in as 18 months just to make sure we have a cushion, because there's always going to be surprises. But that is the schedule for this project. This grant application is actually due June 17th, so we're pushing hard to get everything finished up and get this application submitted in time, because if you don't turn it in on time, they just don't allow you to submit. The project alternatives, as I mentioned before, we went after funds for a larger project back in 2022. That was close to a $30 million project. In this cycle 7 of the Safe Routes to School / Active Transportation Program, the state does not have quite as much funding available. So after discussion, we decided to go after a scaled back project. This lesser cost, higher probability of success, and we targeted what we consider and what we feel residents consider to be the highest priority project, and that's Linda Avenue and Dunning Avenue, because these are the two streets that we really need to focus on in order to provide safe access to Linda Elementary School. So at this point, I think I'm going to hush up and I'll see if anybody has any questions. Wayne?
No questions yet.
No questions yet?
Not yet.
Okay. In terms of what we are looking at for this project, Linda Avenue, we have sufficient right of way. We can put in 5-foot bicycle lanes on either side and a 5-foot sidewalk. So that's nice. So you'll have, and then we actually will narrow the travel lane from 12 feet to 11 feet, which studies have shown slows traffic down. We're going to increase the number of signage so that we provide warnings, hey, you're sharing the road with pedestrians and bicyclists. We're going to put in some more speed limit signs. We're going to restripe the roadway so that the bike lane is very clearly delineated. We'll have stop ahead signs. At the streets that come into Linda Avenue, we'll have new stop bars put in. And then on Dunning, we hope that we're going to have enough right-of-way to put in both the Class 2 bike lanes on either side and the 5-foot wide sidewalk on either side, all the way between Linda Avenue and Hamilton Smartsville Road. So that will really make an improvement for the school. I also threw in there a couple of rectangular rapid flashing beacons that you put on either side of the school just to warn people. There are a total of 8 crosswalks that we're planning on putting in. I think 5 of them are existing and we're just going to improve them. 3 of them do not exist yet. They're going to be completely new. They're on side streets coming into Dunning, but we wanted to put those in as well. So that's pretty much it. And now the questions that we normally hear from residents is, can we put in speed bumps? The answer is no. And the reason is any type of striping, any type of signage, anything such as a speed bump or a stop sign has to conform to the California Uniform Manual of Safety Controls, which lists out exactly when, where, and how a community can put in a speed bump, a stop sign, or any other type of signage or striping. So what we're doing conforms to that Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices. Speed bumps, first off, we're not allowed to put them in if it is a route that is used by ambulances or emergency vehicles. So that pretty much crosses out Linda Avenue completely. Dunning, I don't believe we can as well because it's going to be used by emergency vehicles. It's considered a minor collector. Rumble strips. I love putting in rumble strips on the edge line of the roadway. However, residents don't. And this is something we've found out. Of course, I'm old, I've been around for decades. Repeatedly, residents do not like rumble strips. Why? Because when people run over them, they rumble, they make noise. And folks don't like hearing that rumbling noise at night when they're sitting at home watching TV or trying to sleep. So we really do not use rumble strips in urban areas. What we are going to start using more of is what they call conflict painting or conflict striping. So at intersections, you'll see a patch of green paint between the edge of the travel lane and the bicycle lane, just warning the drivers, hey, if you're thinking about turning right, there might be a bicyclist right there, and you're going to turn right and get broadsided by a bicyclist, or worse yet, run right over them. So that conflict painting just kind of raises awareness and provides a little bit of extra separation between the motorized vehicles and the bicyclists or anybody else that's using that bicycle lane. Wayne, I heard that you had some suggestions or questions.
Well, I did, and it looks like one of them was just taken away, and that's fine.
The rumble strips or the speed bumps?
Okay. Well, more like speed bumps, but since you defined it as a minor collector, and for those of us who are not used to traffic mitigation, that would be it's a pass through between Linda and Hamilton Smartsville, yes. And that was my major complaint, was that people do use it as a pass through and disregard traffic controls. What there are now, particularly the crosswalks at the front, at the south and north side of the school. But I don't know if it would pass muster.
A raised crosswalk?
That might be good.
And that is something that we have not slammed the door on yet.
Okay.
We're still doing some research as to whether or not that is allowed on a minor collector.
Okay.
Basically what it is, it's a very wide speed bump with a very gradual incline, but visually, once again, it raises awareness on the part of the driver. And they don't know how steep it is, so they're going to slow down, especially if they're in a lower riding vehicle. So they don't want to tear the front spoiler off of their Lexus, well, they're going to slow down.
Okay. Another idea I shared with the office not too long ago, it looks like it was just over a year ago. But this is something that El Dorado High School has done in Placerville. And this was their old installation. This was the median. It was a separator. It was a K-rail topped with chain link fencing.
That'll stop the jaywalkers.
Yeah, and the idea is mostly to keep people from turning left. I know that's not desirable in residential areas, but the left-hand turns into the school have become a problem, especially coming northbound. People get impatient and pass lines of cars. And there's a crosswalk right there where lots of small children and families cross that are coming from opposite side. And if you're passing vehicles you can't see, there's a crosswalk. This is their permanent installation. It's much prettier, obviously, and it's more of a visual deterrent. And it'll stop the car, but it's not by any means meant to stop a cement truck turning left. Ultimately, though, that solution will only work if it ran the entire length of Dunning. Otherwise, you're going to have U-turns at the end. Because people get aggressive and persistent when they're trying to drop off.
Okay. Not making notes is. The nice thing about this project, and it's once again, as I mentioned earlier, it's a little bit unusual to be going after construction funds before the project is designed. we have a really good idea what the project is going to look like, but it is not at this point set in stone. So we can still review elements, change elements, make it better. And that's something that I've been very honest and open about when I started doing this 10 years ago, going after grant funds, trying to get these safe route to school projects built. There was a lot I did not know about quote-unquote active transportation, how to design sidewalks or separated sidewalks, a class 3 bicycle route versus a class 2 bicycle lane versus a class 1 bicycle path. All, whether or not you can do buffered bicycle lanes. There's a whole different world out there that, I'm just a meat and potatoes, go out there and pave it, put some striping on it, and you're done. Well, no, that doesn't work anymore. Not in this day and age. So there's a lot of different things that we can look at. Our biggest restriction, unfortunately, ironically, is not money. Money is, of course, determines which projects get built when, depending upon the funding. But the big issue when it comes to choosing the project elements is either going to be that manual uniform traffic control devices we talked about, what I'm allowed to put in legally. And then the next thing is right of way. Because a lot of these, like what you were just showing me, whether it's a median that separates northbound from southbound, whether it's a fence, some kind of flexible delineator that runs the full lane, or if we put in a pedestrian refuge for a certain stretch at an intersection, all of which would prevent people from passing, from making left-hand turns. But if I don't have enough right-of-way, then the question becomes, can I buy a little more right-of-way? Or do I have to start buying and tearing down homes? And one of the things that the elected officials have said, and I entirely agree with them, is that we are not going to start purchasing and demolishing homes in order to put in a road. Not for a safe routes to school project. Now, will there be exceptions to that? Maybe someday if we have a willing seller that says, hey, I was thinking of selling and moving anyway. This is the only obstacle to doing this really cool project. Okay, maybe we'll look at it. But for this project, in all honesty, we're not going to be looking at purchasing and demolishing homes in order to get enough right of way to put in a median or do something like that.
Okay.
So that's something we'd have to look at.
Yeah, because just looking at the map, northbound and southbound, as a resident, I come in from the right across from College Park here.
Right.
I come in from here and I drive all the way around just so that I can make a right-hand turn into the school.
Oh, really? So you
I
do
do.
not come up Linda Avenue
I
to
don't.
Dunning?
I don't, because it's not safe for pedestrians while being along Linda, or anyone coming through on this pass-through right here. This is a pedestrian walkway, but actually it runs between these, this storage area and the gas station here. It's
Oh,
the
okay.
College Market gas station.
Mhm.
People use this as a pass-through, particularly pedestrians. They come through here and then walk their kids to school and walk home. What I do, I drop my kid off every day. I take him in the van because the van is safer than walking. And I drive him all the way down here to the intersection, Hamilton, Smartsville, and Veal, and come up and down. So I am only making right-hand turns other than this left on the beat. And that's so I don't have to cross lanes in the school zone because it's, again, not safe for the children. And the northbound lane tends to stack up right there with people turning left. So once people get impatient there, they cut through and come at me. I don't know that I have the video I shared with you, Kylie.
Mm-hmm.
But
And if
in
you
the
don't,
video-
I can look and provide it to Dan.
Yeah, in the video, you can see people coming into, the link was actually in the email, so I think.
Okay.
So this is on a rainy day, it looks like it was last March. I'm sorry, I can't get the resolution today. This is coming, let's see, yeah, this is southbound on Linda,
Mm-hmm.
coming into that school zone.
You mean southbound of Dunning?
Yeah, sorry, southbound on Dunning. And coming toward the school. and you can already see some of the congestion. I'm sorry, it's buffering. But you can see the congestion, people pulling over to the right, and then the impatient drivers pulling over across traffic. This one actually stopped right in the middle.
Now, Kylie, are we capable, not we, you, because I know I'm not, of getting still photos that I can use out of the video?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, because if I can get a couple of
So
stills,
that was an important moment. As soon
Yeah.
as they start clearing, you can see people pulling across because they got impatient.
yeah, I would love to get some still photos of that to include in the application.
Okay.
That-
We can do that.
This one is my favorite. Even across the white line on the opposite side. So, and that's been daily. That since we've been getting him to school a little bit later, that has been less of an issue because the congestion usually starts happening right around 7:50 in the morning. And it can last up until 8:20. It just depends on how people are leaving their homes. But that's one of the reasons that I come down this way, because as you saw in the video, there's nobody going southbound, and everybody's coming left, but all that traffic stacks up in that semicircle. Nobody can get in. People get impatient and they cut in. Or what you didn't see in the video is people who use it as a pass-through, cutting over and through that crosswalk that I mentioned earlier.
Right.
And that's where I feel that the median would come in handy, because it would eliminate the left-hand turn. It would be a minor inconvenience for the resident who live on the east side of Dunning. I realize that, but I don't see that it would be a major impediment to going west on North Beale. They would just have to change their, they would have to change their direction
Now, I'm going
just a
to
little bit.
unfortunately show my ignorance here. Is it possible to come in on the aisle and drop the kid off and have them come in from the back of the school on the west side? Or do they even have an entrance there?
If they don't have an entrance there, that's where the buses come through. That's where the bus drop-off is.
Ah,
So they disallow parents from dropping off children in the back of the school because this is actually the bus circle. Now, there's parking there for staff and for parents in off hours, but this is actually the bus semicircle. They drop off the kiddos here and they enter through the gates right there.
okay.
That was something I tried to do as well in the mornings, but the traffic there can get stacked up also. So that was my solution, was to just circle the area completely and come in, make right-hand turns into the school. Because, as I said, with my background in traffic controls, that was the easiest way to eliminate any sort of T-boning,
Right.
is to eliminate left-hand turns.
All right. Anything else that you could share that would help us?
Those actually were my two biggest suggestions were the speed bumps on opposite sides of each crosswalk, but since that's no longer a factor, the median would be my
And like I
top
said, we will do some homework. And I've actually reached out to the folks that are experts on this as to whether or not we could legitimately put in a raised crosswalk,
Okay.
which really studies have shown make a difference. People don't want to speed over them and they can see them a lot easier. The other thing is that the rapid flashing beacons should make a difference. And then, as I put in here, the question of whether or not we can actually fit in a median or what they call a pedestrian refuge.
Okay, yeah, I don't know the term for it, but here, this is if you're coming southbound. Right here, this little, I know it's hard to see, but right here, there's this little gentle curve in the curb. I don't know what the name of it is, but it's an improvement that would jut this out slightly toward
Yeah,
the
bulge
road.
out.
Yeah, so this would be like a protected walkway. You can't sit on the right side. Would that be eliminated by the sidewalk improvements? Or,
Probably, unless I put in a curb ramp, I'd have to go out there and take a look,
okay.
and we'd have to run the geometrics through there.
And I forget what the term is, but it would just push that little curb
Right.
out into the roadway so people could cut that
And that's
turn.
something that really folks have started doing more and more of over the past, even 4 or 5 years.
Yeah. So, and I've seen traffic calm based on that. People don't want to, like, say, they don't want to ruin their spoiler or the body kit taking a hard right into concrete. If the median, the solid median or fence median didn't work, if you were going to do the delineators, I know that we did see some success over there on the left-hand turn by the 76 on Earl, but only after adding concrete to the base. Because for whatever reason, the residents decided those delineators, when they didn't have that protection, they were fine to roll over.
Yep. We ran into the same thing, no pun intended, on Plumas Lake Boulevard, where we had delineators up in front to keep people from turning left.
Right. So I think that would be a viable option if you couldn't do the permanent structure, but as long as we had that reinforced concrete at the bottom to dissuade people from just mowing over the delineators would be helpful.
Yeah, and one thing we always have to bear in mind, I am a huge advocate of what they call life cycle cost analysis. I can get funding to build something. You cannot get funding to maintain something.
Right.
That comes out of our very small portion of property taxes, and the county does not get enough money to maintain what we have already. So that is always the fight, and that's why we always try to design our projects. We'll spend more money up front to come up with something that has a lower maintenance cost and a lower life cycle cost. So that's something we're always very, very conscientious of. We're not going to put in those flexible delineators if they're going to get mowed out down weekly.
Yeah, I vote for K-rings, but that's
Big sharp spikes.
there you go. But those are my suggestions. I hope that.
Well, and as we go through the design process, and sorry for interrupting, the county is going to continue reaching out to the public and sharing what they're proposing and what it looks like. So if anybody has additional ideas or looks at something and says, oh gosh, you guys blew it, that's not going to work and this is why, okay. Now, that's one thing that the older I get, the thicker my skin got, because I realized, you know what, I can screw up things. It's amazing. And so slowing down and listening to other people, especially the folks that live here and drive here every day, that's a good thing.
I would like to hear more community input too, because I know that contrary to the obvious, I am not the only one with issues coming into the school. I've had discussions online with many students. We're all in agreement that something needs to be done. I just don't know that anybody really has the background that I did to be able to come in here today and make suggestions on strongly measures. So.
Well, right now, this is sad. Between this section of Linda, which runs between Hamilton-Smartsville Road, North Mill Road, and this section of Dunning from Linda Avenue up to Hamilton-Smartsville Road, I think I counted out 1,575 linear feet of sidewalk total. Out of 11,330 feet.
Yeah.
So there's not much sidewalk there. The crosswalks go from nowhere to nowhere.
Yeah.
So there's no sidewalk on the other side of the crosswalk.
That's
You
true.
just walk into a ditch full of water.
And residents
So
and families do, they're pounding pathways into the side of the road where there should be sidewalks. Absolutely.
So for those of you that are watching online, we're very, very glad that you're watching online. Do not be shy about contacting us, giving us comments. Even if the comments come in after this application gets submitted, that's okay, because the design is not done yet. This is the time to get a hold of us and give us your input while we still have time to get it into the design. And this design process is going to take a year. So once again, if you think of something in a week, a month, or 6 months, that's okay. Drop us a line, send us an email. We want to hear from you. So that's my pitch. I'm sticking to it. My name's Dan Peterson, retired, supposedly, former director of public works.
Allegedly
and
retired.
the unofficial grandfather of all school-age kids in Yuba County.
Thank you so much, Dan. We appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.